Imagine just for a second that you are offered a shortcut.
Right, a supernatural bypass.
Exactly. Not a life hack or a productivity tip, but a literal supernatural shortcut to unimaginable wealth or maybe absolute power.
It sounds like the setup for a horror movie.
It really does.
Right.
But what if the entity offering you this deal didn't present itself as some cartoonish monster? What if it sounded completely civilized?
Like a perfect gentleman.
Right. And more importantly, if you engage with that system, what is the actual mechanical cost of taking that shortcut? Welcome to today's deep dive. We're stepping into some highly complex and intensely fascinating territory today.
We definitely are. We're moving far beyond the typical, meditation for stress relief kind of discussions.
Yeah.
We're examining something far more ancient, and according to our source material today, a framework of reality that is deeply mechanical,
And completely unforgiving.
unforgiving, and highly dangerous if misunderstood.
So today we are analyzing a deeply cautionary transcript from a highly unique source. He goes by Osman, and he's widely known as the blind Muslim yogi.
Which is a fascinating title in itself.
It is. We review a massive amount of esoteric and spiritual literature, but his background provides a really specific grounded lens. He is a bioenergy healer, specifically a master-level telepathic healer who focuses on critical care and spiritual ailments.
And an advanced practitioner of yoga and meditation.
Right. We are talking about someone with nearly 50 years of active practice. He attained samadhi, which is a profound, non-dual state of meditative consciousness at the age of 19.
That's incredible, 19.
Yeah. And he has studied under masters across the globe, integrating Eastern traditions, Western esoteric practices, and even scientific frameworks.
What stands out immediately about Osman for me is his operational baseline. I mean, he isn't out there monetizing a weekend enlightener retreat.
Not at all.
He provides his core teachings, like his 5-minute yoga protocols, completely for free. He operates strictly from a place of service.
Yeah.
And that positioning lends this massive gravity-laden weight to the stark warnings he outlines in the material we're unpacking today.
Absolutely. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore Osman's explicit warnings regarding the severe dangers of communicating with what he categorizes as lower or dark entities.
We're going to dissect the specific traps embedded within advanced occult practices.
And look at how you can safely navigate your own spiritual curiosity without risking your psychological stability or, as Osman frames it, your fundamental life force.
The most compelling aspect of Osman's perspective, I think, is how he systematically dismantles the Hollywood glamour surrounding the occult.
Yeah, he strips all that away.
He never frames this as a spooky narrative just to give you a thrill.
Yeah.
Instead, he describes a high-stakes system of energetic physics. He views the universe mechanically.
Like a complex grid.
Exactly, a grid of frequencies, vibrations, and resonances where ignorance of the laws is incredibly dangerous.
Let's break down this categorization of frequencies. Osman discusses the reality of accessing alternative bandwidths, specifically through deep, prolonged meditation or through the introduction of substances like DMT and mushrooms. While he acknowledges the empirical difficulty of proving these realms in a laboratory, his half-century of clinical and personal experience treats these alternative frequencies as objective realities, and his primary warning centers on these lower worlds.
If we look at the broader mechanics he's describing, the inherent danger of these lower frequencies isn't that you'll open a metaphysical door and be chased by a grotesque monster.
The true danger is structural deception.
Precisely. Osman emphasizes what we might call the illusion of the transactional deal. He notes that entities operating in these darker frequencies are exceptionally persuasive.
For sweet-talking.
Very much so. They make highly appealing targeted promises based on a person's deepest desires. But he presents a fundamental axiom here. These entities will never engage in a transaction where you emerge as the victor.
It's always a trap.
Invariably, it is a predatory trap disguised as a mutual agreement.
That transactional predation perfectly sets up a fascinating case study he details in the transcript. Osman, working as an advanced energy healer, had a client who was also operating in the esoteric space, specifically as a spellcaster.
A healer himself, right?
Yeah, a fellow practitioner. And this man made a conscious decision to initiate a deal with a specific frequency from these lower realms. And the initial phase of the contract executed flawlessly.
Which is the hook. The immediate delivery of the desired outcome solidifies the practitioner's belief in their own control over the situation.
Right. Osman details how this man suddenly achieved massive fame in his specific circles, and the financial remuneration was incredibly literal.
He was getting actual cash.
Yes, literal sports bags, rucksacks packed to the brim with crisp $100 bills. This wasn't some subtle synchronicity. It was a direct, undeniable physical manifestation of the entity's side of the bargain.
But a system of high-stakes energetic physics demands balance. The cost of leveraging these entities is absolute unwavering compliance to the terms of the vow.
You can never just forget a vow with these beings.
No, you can't. Osman points out that the client never explicitly revealed the details of his end of the bargain, which suggests the requisite sacrifice or action was just too transgressive to admit to another practitioner.
Right.
Regardless of the specifics, the man ultimately failed to fulfill his contractual obligation.
And in these frameworks, a breach of contract isn't met with a late fee. The consequences were devastating. Osman describes how the man's core life force, his fundamental vital energy, was essentially seized and trapped by this entity in that lower dimensional frequency.
And the physical manifestation of this was shocking.
He didn't just become ill, he physically shriveled to skin and bone, looking as though he were in the final stages of a terminal illness, simply because his energy was tethered and being actively drained.
This leads to a crucial observation about the nature of these beings. Because Osman is a master-level healer, he had to perform a complex energetic extraction to release this man's life force.
Right.
That required him to communicate directly with the entity holding the contract. And when Osman initiated that dialogue to renegotiate the client's release, the entity did not present as a raging demon.
Not at all.
Osman noted that it sounded remarkably civilized. He described interacting with it as though he were speaking to an absolute gentleman.
That projection of civility masks the predatory nature of the entire transaction. It's a brilliant deception.
It is the ultimate camouflage. The entity maintained an incredibly pleasant, refined demeanor while simultaneously draining the vital life force from a human being who broke a vow.
Chilling.
Very. Osman successfully brokered a new deal on the client's behalf, ensuring this one was actually fulfilled, which allowed the man's energy to be released. A year later, his physical health and weight had returned.
But the underlying lesson is profound. Treating these esoteric transactions as casual experiments is a catastrophic miscalculation.
Absolutely.
That transitions seamlessly into Osman's next major area of caution, which moves from transactional entities to the specific tools used to manipulate reality, namely advanced mantras.
Right, because in popular culture, mantras are often viewed merely as peaceful affirmations or focus tools.
Exactly like something you do at the end of a yoga class. But Osman details the story of another advanced healer who wanted to push his energetic bandwidth further. This practitioner sought out lethal mantras.
Sonic formulas designed specifically to kill enemies.
Yes, and the psychological justification this practitioner used is highly indicative of how the ego operates and rationalizes within these power structures.
How did he justify?
He argued the necessity of these mantras for self-defense. He cited a mundane example of a homeowner who defended his family from an intruder using an axe, but ended up decapitating the intruder and facing murder charges.
Oh, wow.
So the healer's logic was that physical self-defense carries legal, real-world consequences. Therefore, he required a supernatural, untraceable mechanism for protection.
It's a dark rationalization that completely ignores the energetic blowback of such an action.
Osman naturally refused to facilitate this request. But the practitioner eventually procured a highly potent mantra book originating from India, one compiling both benign frequencies and incredibly dangerous volatile mantras.
The kind traditionally used for exorcisms or aggressive energetic clearing.
Exactly. He proceeded to perform a major elaborate ceremony, including an animal sacrifice in a temple setting dedicated to a powerful devi or deity.
To understand the mechanics of what happened next, we have to contextualize the forces he was attempting to wield. These are not concepts you simply read aloud from a book.
Right.
In traditional frameworks, an initiate might spend a full decade doing preparatory grounding mantras before a master would ever permit them to vocalize the advanced syllables.
But this practitioner bypassed all that preparation, and the result of attempting to wield that level of spiritual voltage was immediate. He died that very night.
At 39 years old.
39 with just a minor history of asthma. He simply suffocated to death in his own bed. Osman's analysis is that attempting to channel a highly dangerous, lethal mantra without the requisite energetic capacity overloaded his system entirely.
It is the equivalent of trying to push a nuclear reactor's power output through standard household wiring. The conduit simply incinerates.
That's a perfect analogy.
And that impatience, the desire to skip the decades of preparatory grounding, is exactly what makes modern internet culture so uniquely vulnerable to these specific dangers.
Which brings us to a YouTube trend Osman specifically calls out. Because right now, anyone with an internet connection can find these protocols.
Anyone.
Osman warns about a currently trending practice involving a 40-day fierce mantra dedicated to a monkey army general from the Ramayana for wealth and power.
The online promise is that completing this specific 40-day sonic cycle will grant the practitioner immense wealth power and the ability to easily crush obstacles. It's presented as an endurance challenge with a supernatural payout.
Osman recounts the outcome for one individual who followed this internet protocol to the letter. The instructions dictated that on the final day, the practitioner was to look out their window toward a mountain where the entity summoned by the 30 days of vibration would manifest visually.
And the critical instruction was, do not experience fear.
Which is an utterly impossible psychological mandate.
Completely impossible when a human mind is confronted with an entity that exists entirely outside our evolutionary framework of reality.
The ontological shock was absolute. The man looked out his window on the 40th day, perceived whatever manifestation the mantra had generated, and immediately began screaming uncontrollably.
Osman states that his mind fractured in that exact moment.
He suffered permanent insanity. 10 years after completing that internet challenge, the man remains institutionalized, his cognitive function completely shattered by the encounter.
We really have to pause here and analyze the mechanics of that mental break. It's very tempting to assume this was simply a novice who lacked courage.
Right, just someone who got spooked.
Exactly. But Osman stresses that this visceral terror is a standard biological and energetic reaction. To illustrate this, Osman himself, a master with 50 years of experience who regularly performs extractions and exorcisms, admitted that he recently experienced pure terror.
Yes, an entity with long black hair approached him,
Radiating an aura that felt like fear personified. Despite his decades of conditioning, Osman screamed out loud.
He noted how foolish he felt for reacting that way, but the biological response bypassed his conscious control entirely.
Furthermore, Osman contextualizes this by pointing to highly elevated historical figures. He mentions Ramakrishna, a deeply revered mystic. When Ramakrishna first experienced the unfiltered true cosmic form of the deity, Kali historical accounts suggest he screamed in absolute terror.
The fundamental point Osman is driving home is that these specific frequencies are overwhelmingly incompatible with the baseline human nervous system.
If the great historical masters and modern experts experience involuntary terror, a casual internet user seeking a shortcut to wealth has absolutely no business opening those energetic conduits.
So how does this apply to you, the listener? Most people tuning in are not sacrificing animals in temples or attempting 40-day esoteric endurance challenges.
No, hopefully not.
But Osman's warnings extend far beyond formal ceremonies. He discusses the concept of casual invitations, and this is where the mechanics of resonance become highly practical.
This is where his mechanical view of the universe intersects with daily habits.
Osman states that simply obsessing over occult topics, consistently consuming dark supernatural media in your living space, or even bringing specific physical artifacts into your home can act as a beacon.
An accidental invitation.
Exactly. He shares the case of a woman in South Africa. She wasn't performing rituals. She was just dabbling, talking about the occult, and casually involving herself in the aesthetic.
And what happened?
Shortly after, she developed a severe poltergeist attachment in her home. She was experiencing banging noises throughout the night and would enter her kitchen to find her heavy pots and pans meticulously arranged on the floor.
Terrifying.
The chaotic energy became so intense that her partner permanently left her. Osman had to intervene and perform specific energetic clearings to reset the frequency of the house.
It demonstrates how readily these frequencies anchor to a physical space if the environment is primed for them.
And it isn't limited to adult curiosity. Osman shared an anecdote regarding his own 11-year-old daughter. She saved her money to purchase a highly trendy designer toy known as a Labubu doll.
Right, the blind box toys.
Yeah. Osman, being blind, obviously couldn't see the physical object, but it was described to him as resembling a colorful, stylized demon. Almost immediately after the object entered the home, the relational atmosphere completely degraded.
The baseline frequency of the environment experienced a severe shift.
She began having intense, constant arguments with her cousin, someone she had grown up with peacefully her entire life. The negative resonance was so immediate and palpable that even at 11 years old, she recognized the doll as the catalyst.
She told her father she needed to remove it.
She initially wanted to sell it, which Osman strongly advised against, suggesting she just throw it away to break the cycle, but it perfectly illustrates his point. The physical form of an object designed with specific archetypal intentions can carry and broadcast the disruptive frequency.
Let's examine the physics of why that occurs within Osman's framework. He explains that mantras, focused thoughts, and even physical objects imbued with specific intent are mechanisms that generate vibration.
And vibration creates a magnetic field.
Exactly. In basic physics, different vibrational inputs create varying magnetic fields. If you are consistently tuning your attention to dark media or surrounding yourself with artifacts that resonate with lower archetypes, you are fundamentally altering the magnetic field of your personal space.
The universe is mechanical, so you naturally attract the frequencies that match your established magnetic field.
It operates exactly like a radio antenna. If you calibrate your receiver to a specific frequency, you cannot be surprised when that is the broadcast you receive.
However, Osman enthusiastically contrasts all this doom and gloom with highly accessible, safer alternatives. He is not advocating for the abandonment of spiritual practice.
No, he is advocating for structural safety.
He highly recommends grounding practices like his free 5-minute yoga protocol or a standard 20-minute daily meditation. These carry zero risk of inviting an energetic attachment.
He also explicitly sanctions the use of traditional, widely established religious incantations. He references Hindu mantras dedicated to Krishna or Lakshmi and Islamic practices, such as reciting specific verses from the Quran or repeating Alhamdulillah.
Safe harbors, essentially.
Right. He states that across his 50 years of observation, he has never encountered a dangerous outcome resulting from these standard culturally integrated practices. They are architecturally designed by centuries of use to be safe, grounding, and elevating.
But there is a massive caveat here, and it applies universally: the dose makes the poison.
That is a vital nuance. Structural safety does not negate the need for systemic balance. Osman shares a highly illustrative example involving a specific Sufi sect.
Right, they were chanting a beautiful word.
Yes, they were utilizing the word Allah, a culturally revered, beautiful concept representing the divine. However, they were chanting this specific frequency for 6 or more hours a day, every single day.
And the result was that they fractured their own minds. They went insane.
The sheer volume and relentless intensity of that energetic output overloaded their cognitive hardware. It proves that safety isn't merely about the quality of the frequency you are channeling, but how your biological system manages that energy flow.
Even the most positive divine frequency, if forced through an unprepared human nervous system at massive intensity for an extended duration, will cause a catastrophic short circuit.
It reinforces the absolute necessity of staying grounded. True practice should integrate you more deeply into a balanced life, not isolate you or shatter your capacity to function.
As we wrap up this deep dive, let's outline Osman's ultimate rules for you if you insist on exploring the occult or advanced mantra work. Rule 1, never do incantations inside your home.
It acts as a direct invitation, compromising the energetic security of your living space and your family.
Rule 2, exhaustive research is mandatory. He advises cross-referencing multiple contradictory sources for at least a full year before initiating any actual practice.
And Rule 3, which serves as the ultimate fail-safe, only proceed under the direct personal guidance of a practitioner who possesses 10 to 20 years of verifiable experience in that specific tradition.
You need a veteran guide.
You do, because as we've established, the entities operating in these spaces rely entirely on deception.
So after dissecting the mechanics of predatory entities, the lethal overload of advanced mantras, and the subtle dangers of casual resonance, what is the core synthesis of Osman's warnings?
I think the most provocative concept for you to consider is Osman's assertion about casual consumption. He warns that merely thinking about these darker frequencies acts as an invitation subtly shifting your personal energy.
Just thinking about it.
Yes. So considering the sheer volume of true crime, dark media, and intense conflict-driven information we casually consume every single day, how closely should you be guarding the magnetic field of your own mind?
That is an incredibly heavy, vital question to ask yourself the next time you find your attention lingering on something dark. Thank you for joining us on this intense deep dive.
Let's stay curious but cautious.
We hope it provided you with a new mechanical understanding of these concepts and a rigorous framework for your own curiosity. Stay grounded, and we'll explore the next topic with you soon.